Hello everyone, TheDerpHog here, and today I'm doing another special gimmick video. Today I'm going to be talking about superhighways across America. So if you don't know what a superhighway is, it's basically what I like to call a highway that crosses state lines but keeps its number from the previous state. So for example, I covered a video on the Super 200, which consists of 4 state highways that are numbered 200. So we're going to be taking a look at 10 different examples of where that happens, and we're going to be talking about them. So let's get started with our superhighways. First, I want to start off with an honorable mention of North Carolina 903 and secondary route 903 in Virginia. The reason I'm giving this as an honorable mention is because technically secondary route 903 is not an actual state highway. It is just a secondary route that is maintained by the county that it resides in, Virginia. So that's why it's not officially part of this list. So our first superhighway on the list is actually up in the west. It's the Super 200, which I actually did a couple of videos on. If you don't remember, the Super 200 consists of Idaho 200, Montana 200, North Dakota 200, and Minnesota 200. Out of these 4 state highways, Montana 200 is actually the longest state highway in the country, and this is also the longest superhighway at over 1,400 miles long. And if you want to check out my video on the Super 200, I recommend checking it out right up here. Our next superhighway is Arizona and New Mexico Route 80. The reason these 2 highways are numbered 80 is because they are actually part of historic US 80. So you can take this route to see all the cool view stuff that was on US 80 at the time. I like to call the Plains 14, it is Kansas 14 and Nebraska Highway 14. And once Nebraska 14 reaches the Nebraska South Dakota border, it actually turns into South Dakota 37, which sadly does not keep the 14 number. But South Dakota 37 does continue on the long highway. The reason it's not South Dakota 14 is because US 14 runs through the state, and I'm guessing that South Dakota does not want to confuse people with South Dakota 14 and US 14. So I understand their reasoning. But basically there is one long highway of Kansas 14, Nebraska 14, South Dakota 37, and North Dakota 1. Our next example is Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas once again. This time it's for Highway 23. It's basically a 260 mile spur of US Highway 83, as both ends are at US 83 in the different states of Texas and Kansas. So why not just call this like US 383 or something? I don't know. Our next one is not as long as the Super 200, but it is the Super 92. It basically runs from US 26 and 85 in Wyoming all the way over to US 34 in Illinois. It is roughly a little under 900 miles long, but it is a super highway that I like to cover one day because someone actually suggested this to me. We're now on the East Coast here, and we now have the Carolina 9. It's basically North Carolina 9 and South Carolina 9. It runs from US 70 in the mountains of North Carolina all the way down to South Carolina 65 in the city of North Myrtle Beach. Also, I've been on parts of South Carolina 9, and it is a really nice road. And South Carolina is a really nice state in general. I recommend visiting it. We're still staying here in the state of North Carolina, but this time we're going to be moving up north to Virginia, where we have a shared highway of 87, North Carolina 87 and Virginia 87. North Carolina and Virginia 87 start all the way down here in southeastern North Carolina and travels through Fayetteville, Sanford, Burlington, Eden, and a little bit of Virginia, and that ends into US 220 in Ridgeway, Virginia. I've also been on parts of North Carolina 87, especially in Fayetteville and Sanford, and it's a really nice road. So once again, I recommend checking it out if you're ever here in North Carolina. Just like the Carolinas, the Virginias have a Super Highway 9. It's West Virginia 9 and Virginia 9. It runs from Maryland 51 all the way down to Virginia 7, serving kind of like a extra route to Washington DC or to Cumberland. Because if you continue east on Virginia 7, it will take you over to Arlington and Washington DC. And if you go the opposite direction on Maryland 51, it'll actually take you over to Interstate 68 and Cumberland and points north of Cumberland and west of there. Now we head east over to Maryland and Delaware, where we have Maryland 54 and Delaware Highway 54. The unique one about this one is that this highway actually parallels, or actually is on the Maryland and Delaware border for most of its route. And whichever side of the border that this highway is on, that's the side that the DOT takes care of. So it's pretty cool that Maryland and Delaware are able to have the same number highway on their state border. And our last superhighway of the video is the not-so 896-mile highway, which consists of Pennsylvania 896, Maryland 896, and Delaware 896. It runs from US 13 in the state of Delaware all the way up to Pennsylvania 340 in the Lancaster area. So, and I've also been on Pennsylvania 340 itself, but sadly not 896. And those are 10 examples of superhighways across the United States. Thank y'all so much for watching this small video on superhighways across America. I hope you guys learned something new about superhighways, and if I missed any superhighway here in the United States, please feel free to let me know, and I might do a part 2 soon on this video because it was really fun to make. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next week when we do US 20 Western.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more videos made by me, click on the either two card things that are shown on the screen. And please subscribe, it really helps out a lot. And remember, everyone's awesome!